Hey everybody, getting things set up here, so just bear with me for a moment. Alrighty, so apologies on those of you watching on YouTube. I'm going live both on, as usual, both on YouTube and on TikTok. Might take a minute for everything to kind of sync up. Hold on one second. Let me stop it. Let me see here. It's kind of up. It's kind of settling. These things happen. Let me just turn down the stream. These things happen, folks. Just got to turn it down. When you try and go live, sometimes the software doesn't like to play along. There, that seems to be a little bit better. How we doing, kids? All right, so how's everybody doing? So I didn't go live last week, as you noticed, those of you that are my regular live followers. And the reason was I had something come up that I had to deal with. I do own a business, and unfortunately, that's how I make my money. I don't make money doing this. Hey, Tiger from Germany. I'm trying to remember all my German. I took it in high school and college. B Gates, that's what I'll go with. So anyway, yeah, I missed last week because, like I said, I own a business, and unfortunately, that's how I make my money, and that had to take precedence. So, welcome to those of you just coming on who haven't followed me from before. And to those of you who have followed, welcome back. And really, I have an interesting topic today, and this is not the one I originally planned to talk about. So, originally, I had done a video about a week ago now where I had asked guys to share with me when was the last time that they had gotten a compliment from their significant other. And that was going to be the video or the talk today, but I'm going to table that, and we're going to do that one next week. And the reason is, and this is important, earlier today on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, I did YouTube Shorts. I did a video which is really striking a chord, which kind of actually surprised me. So one of the things that I've been doing, just started it this week. I'm calling it Did You Know? Did you know? And then I give a fact or talk about a men's issue. So the video I did today, and again, I actually recorded this the other day and just posted it today. But basically, I had talked about what happens with... Hey, Allie. Long time no chat, right? The video I posted today talked about what happens and how society views men when they cry. And it is mostly on Instagram. It is going berserk over there. And also, it's doing okay on TikTok and doing okay on YouTube, but it really seems to have hit home on Instagram. And so I'm changing it this week's live to that because I thought it was fascinating, some of the responses that I'm seeing. And being able to show feelings is a superpower, not a weakness for men. Amen, Allie. And I'm not just saying that because you recorded a podcast with me earlier today. So for those that don't know, might as well give her a little promo right now. If you're in the chat on TikTok, anonymously Allie198 is someone I've made friends with recently, and she and I recorded a podcast a couple hours ago, actually, I'm not sure exactly when it's going to come out yet, but you want to check that one out when it goes up, because we had a really good conversation. I'm not going to go into all all what we talked about because this isn't the place. But I'm going to really encourage you, if you're on TikTok, to go follow anonymously Allie198. She's in the chat here. If you're over on YouTube, check out the TikTok. There you go. And by the way, if you're on YouTube, I'm chatting there too, so come on in. All right, so again, I want to get back to that video that I talked about, and I really want to kind of share some of the comments that were made on that video, and more particularly, the response to the video that I made. So the video basically said that, you know, society, when men share their feelings, it tends to backfire on them. So what was interesting to me is the difference in the responses from men and women, right? So I was talking about men sharing their emotions particularly with women, and what happens when they do that. And as these things go, the men started to open up on it. And that's really my objective with all of my channels. Oh, LO797, you open that Pandora's box. Ask my ex 5 things she liked about you. Oh boy. Speaking of Pandora, you said I love your Pandora list. Wow. So, you know, I just wanted to kind of talk about some of the responses I got because I found them utterly fascinating. And I'm going to start with over on Instagram. So even though we're live on TikTok and YouTube here, yeah, I'm going to start over on Instagram. Oh, quick side note before I jump into that. Hey, I got swag, kids. I got some swag now. So, if you're on TikTok, up in the bio is my link tree to my merch. YouTube, it'll be in the show notes. I've got all sorts of things. I got shirts, I got coffee mugs, I got these, and I'm not saying that to make money for me. Anything that you buy, part of the proceeds go towards the Taylor House, which is one of 2 domestic violence shelters for men in the United States. So you'll be supporting them. So if you want to get some swag, go do that. I'll leave it at that. All right, let's get back to it. I had to put it in. Come on. You know I have to. So I said, like I said in the video, I said, do you ever notice when a man cries? And then here's what was interesting about it. Like I said, the difference between how men reply to it and how women reply to it. And I found that fascinating because, and I'm still checking the comments over here, guys. I will be checking on them in a little bit because I want to just kind of touch on this. So one of the and I'm not going to read all the comments, but one of the comments that really struck me is, there was a few, but one in particular to start out with is, and this is from a screen name is Huffing Along 22 on Instagram. So, you know, when a man shares his emotions, this has happened to me. It can get worse because there are times when women in my life will cry on command when they are losing an argument, especially when they're actually wrong. Instead of admitting they're wrong, they'll turn on the waterworks and act as a victim. And men could never get away with that. Amen to that, brother. Freaking men. I've had it happen to me. And as I replied to that, weaponized emotions. Yeah, Allie. As I replied to that, you know, it's a way to, quotes, win the argument. It's a way to make you feel bad. It's manipulation. I'm going to say it. All right. And I know it's going to upset some people that I went that way. But that was it was one of the early comments. If you're on Instagram, you can go check that out. Men need to be heard on Instagram, by the way. The other one, and this is the one, some of y'all are not going to like this. This one is from, again, on Instagram. And I'm not trying to dox these people. I don't want you to go attack them. Please don't. This is just, maybe I shouldn't give the names out. Future ones, I'll do that. This was from Pauline. I'll just leave it at that. And again, I had expressed my emotions in this video and how I felt. Whoops. Just dropped my dollar store reading glasses. As a woman, I've never seen this ever. So what she's saying is she has never seen a woman put a man down for crying or say anything bad about him. Why would you say something like that? To be honest, get ready, you sound like you don't like women. Or maybe you've had a very bad experience in a relationship. Now, mind you, this woman has no idea who I am, never met me, clearly has never watched any of my videos. And I want you to think about something. What is one of the biggest things women say to men they wish men would do when they're sharing their feelings? Shut up and listen. Just acknowledge my feelings. Don't give me solutions. Don't try and solve anything. Just listen and acknowledge. Funny how they don't do that in return. So here's this, like I said, this woman does not know me. I had shared my emotions about this, and she went and attacked me for it. And again, I'm not trying to say anything negative about her, because this is how they've kind of been brought up to do, right? And my response to her, just to kind of, I'm paraphrasing this because it's long, but I said, this is the proof of what I said in the video, right? I, a man, talk about my emotions and other men's emotions. Instead of listening to them and acknowledging the very same thing women ask of men, you chose to attack and demean me, and intimate that because I dare to have feelings and share them, I must hate women. And that seems to be one of their defaults. And I hear it literally every single day on various social medias, that I hate women. I don't hate women. I point things out to them. I hold them to the same standard they hold men. That's not hate. That's just life, right? Why is it okay? And I said this actually on another video I did earlier this week. Why is it okay for a woman to speak out on women's issues and be lauded for doing it? And rightfully so in many cases, right? There are some legitimate issues that women have, and there are women who speak out about them, and I applaud them for that. Why? They don't hate men. And if I said they hated men, I'd be attacked for it. But yet, it's okay when a man shares his feelings to attack him and try and silence him. And that's kind of where I wanted to go with this today, because it is how society views men who share their feelings. As I titled this, Men Who Cry. I'm going to get into that a little bit more. And it's interesting, as I said, to see how the reactions are on these videos. Again, I'm still using Instagram. I'll throw up TikTok in a minute. But here's another one. This is a gentleman responding to it. As a man, I have seen these things happen to men. It's not a lot. I can count on two fingers. But more often than not, women may not mock, but what they do is hold a nugget of weakness and throw it back at the man in a later argument. Yes, that's the other thing they do, right? So the premise of my video is when a man opens up and shares his emotions, one of three things generally is going to happen. Usually all of them. The first thing that's going to happen is, and again, I'm generalizing. I freely admit I'm generalizing here, all right? There are exceptions, so don't jump on me. For the love of God, stop with the it's not all women, because y'all say it's all men, so you got to live by that standard. But it isn't all women. But one of three things are happening. First thing they're going to do is turn it back around on you and make it about them. So they want to silence you, right? They don't like what you're saying. And this happens, men will tell you, time and time again. So what they'll do is dismiss it, like I read about in that response that I got. It doesn't happen. And then it will be twisted around, but it happens to women, right? So make it about them. That's number one that happens. Second thing that happens is they got memories like elephants, to use a phrase. Goes right up in here, right? Parked back here. And a few days, thank you for the rose, Snowy, weeks, months down the road, it's going to get thrown right back at you. It's going to get weaponized against you, and not just once, time and time and time again. I had a relationship, this is no joke. We had a fight about something 12 years earlier. I had totally forgotten about it. 12 years later, she came back with me with what I had said, right? And I had shared my feelings. Hey, Dwaddle over on YouTube, I can relate to it. Good. I'm going to hear everybody's thoughts, feelings, what they've gone through. That's part of the reason I'm doing this. Chance for us to chat about it. 12 years later, she threw it back in my face. Can you believe that? And I mean, even now I laugh about it. So that's the second thing that happens. Anyone want to guess what the third one is? I'll kind of let you guys, because I'm sure somebody's going to come back with it. So we talked about, she'll throw it back on you. Park it in memory, all that. Deny that it exists. There's a third one. I'm going to wait and see if somebody comes up with it. Or maybe I'm going to kind of like scroll through the notes. Yes, I'm trying to create a little fun with this, all right? A little suspense. Just kind of while you're doing that. I'm just reading through some of these comments, guys. So, COD, cry on demand. Yeah, amen. Yes, Allie, as we talked about in the podcast. Guys, when that podcast comes out, you want to watch that one with Allie. It's really good. All right, so I gave 2 examples, right? So a man shares his feelings to significant other, wife, whatever. First thing she's going to do is deny his feelings or turn it on her, make it about her. You're close, user 3305. I'm not going to read the rest number, tell you to man up. You're close. Second thing she's going to do is weaponize it against you. Come on, guys. I know somebody's going to come back with it. When you say tell you to man up, you're close. You'll see what I mean. Call him weak. Well, that kind of falls in the first. I'll give it a few more guesses. Have a little fun with this, guys. You're all going to go, yep, you're right. I'll give you a hint. She's not going to say it to you. I'm having fun, all right? I like to have a little fun with her. All right, you ready? She didn't go tell all her friends about it. She is going to take whatever you opened yourself up to. You bare your soul to her. She'll get on that phone to mom. You're not going to believe what he said to me. She's going to call her bestie. Oh my God. He said blah. She's going to tell her coworkers. She's going to tell some random person she meets on the street. And the latest one, and y'all know where I'm going with this, she's going to post it on the internet. So, yeah, see, you're all going, yep, true, true, true. Yep, I knew you would. Because we've all been there, right? Ladies, if you're watching this, listen to what I'm saying. Forget what I'm saying. Listen to what they're saying in the comments, all right? We've all been there. We've all experienced all 3 of these. If you want to know why men will not open up to you, this is why, all right? To me, the worst one is number 3. And I've had it happen myself many, many, many times. That's why I very rarely open myself up to anyone on some serious matters. I mean, in general, hell, I share a lot here on the internet, right? Because I don't care. But there are some serious things, right? So there was a time, again, I'm not giving names or anything, but it was a time I shared a really serious issue I was having with someone I was in a relationship with. All right, it was my first wife. It got broadcast everywhere. Now, we worked together for the same company in the same building, not in the same department. What I had shared, and it was pretty significant. I'm not going to share what it was. She shared it with God knows how many people. Literally everyone in the building knew about it. Mind you, we're at work, right? So we were in this huge building. She was in one part of the building. I was in another. To be honest with you, we never saw, we drove in together. We never saw each other during the day. We would leave together. That was how it was. But I was having people in my department come up to me and go, oh, geez, dude, I'm so sorry to hear about, and give me detailed info. That really, the damage that was done with that, because Again, this was pretty serious. All right. And again, I don't want to say what it is, but let's just say you would agree with me if I told you know if I told you what it was. But anyway, I have people coming up to me, going, "Damn, oh my God, I just heard," and details and spot on details I might add. Right? She was sharing everything. Um, Boy, the damage that was done to me by that. And I said something to her afterward about it. And of course, it became all my fault at that point. The reason why I'm not married to her anymore. Hey, Michelle. I haven't talked to you in a while. Michelle is reclaiming your voice too. Another one of my friends, another former guest on the podcast, who, by the way, Michelle, I'm going to get you on again shortly, soon. But anyway, to kind of finish up that story. So I even had my boss pull me in his office because, again, this was a serious thing, right? My boss pulled me in my office and basically, and he was great. He was great. He's like, "I'm so sorry to hear this, blah, 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 blah." And I'm like, "How do you even know about it?" Because I have not told a single soul in this building, except one, right? Yeah, she had shared it with everyone. That kind of tells you the way they being women, and yes, I know I'm generalizing, will just go broadcast this stuff. And for men, you cross that bridge, you've lost trust forever. There is no getting back. I've talked with a lot of men about this. I've talked about in the past, I was a domestic violence peer counselor, and this was something that would come up every once in a while because it's a weapon that's used by abusers too, right? There's one thing I know for sure, Michelle, I couldn't possibly hurt your feelings, nor you mine. You are a wonderful person. But again, that breaks that trust. And if it happens once, he's not just going to not open up to her. He's not going to open up to anybody. Men will just shut themselves down. Snowy's question, how do you feel when you think about it now? As you can probably tell, I get a little fired up, maybe. It still bothers me. I've dealt with it, but I'd be lying to say it doesn't bother me, because it does. That trust being broken like that is not something I can forgive, but I can never forget. And if I'm being honest, I don't forgive that one either. I'm being honest. And the thing is that here's the other thing you got to think about with that. And again, I'm not relating it to me now. I'm talking in general. If you have a man opening up to you, and I have men open up to me all the time, I will not share their details unless they tell me I can. Okay. Sigma, you went right just where I was about to go. When a man shares with anyone, it doesn't have to be a woman, it could be another guy. And that's a point I'm trying to make here is, if he shares that and he opens himself up and makes himself vulnerable, and you break that trust, he's not going to trust anyone ever again, first of all, especially the person that broke the trust. And he is going to shut himself down and bury it so effing deep, it will never come out. And I have stuff like that, right? And I'm in pretty healthy mindset right now. I have a really good life right now. I'm a happy person. Drives people crazy that don't like me that I am, but I have a really good life right now. But stuff like that, even now, like as I'm talking about it, it's kind of churning my stomach a little bit. So hold on, I got to take a drink from my swag here. Go check out the merch, guys, right? Like I said earlier, 10% of all the proceeds go towards domestic violence shelter for men. The Taylor House down in Arkansas, which, by the way, that shelter is not just for locals in Arkansas. They handle things nationwide. So if you need help, please reach out to them. But that's where I want to kind of go. And I see people are sharing things. I'm going to go back through the comments. I just kind of want to talk a little bit about it first. But when, well, let me rephrase this. We've reached a point in society right now where this has reached critical mass for men, right? So, to be fair, men have always held their emotions in. It's something, honestly, we're taught from the minute we're born. Don't cry, man up, grow a set. You know all the phrases, right? And let's be brutally honest here. Men do it to men as much as women do it to men. All right? It's society as a whole. It's individually. Mothers, fathers do it. Male people in the family do it. Female people do it in the family. Everyone does it. You know, you're okay to cry as a boy up till about 2 or 3. After that, nope. Whereas a girl crying, perfectly fine, right? So, you know, you think about that. And I think about times when I was a kid where I would get injured. You know, 7, 8. Well, it was a time, I'll relay a time. It was a time about 8 years old. I was playing with some friends. And we were playing baseball, basically. Basically, it was run the bases. So for those of you old enough to know, because the younger generation doesn't go outside and play, I'm generalizing, but running the bases was you had 2 different bases and the ball went back and forth and your goal was to get to the other base without getting tagged, stuff like that. So we were playing that and I slid and ripped my knee wide open, right? You know, I had to go get stitches and all that. So I was crying and I was told, stop crying. You have nothing to cry about. I remember it vividly to this day. You're talking 52 years ago. Can recite it to a T. That's how much that affected me. Again, don't cry. And we're told to bottle those feelings up. We're told we're not allowed to have those feelings. That's what we're told. Now, I know there's a bunch of women that are going to go, that is so not true. Because I've put videos up about it and the women pile on those videos going, just like I read on the earlier one, that's not true. I've never seen it. It doesn't happen. I would never do that. Blah, 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 blah. Yet you talk to the guys, we've all experienced it. All of us. Okay, 99.99%. So the 0.01% that didn't, happy to you. And how it's starting to affect men. It was bad back in my days as a kid. You know, again, I grew up in the 60s and 70s. Yes, I'm old. As some of you would love to point out. I'm bald too. I hate to break it to you. It was bad back then. But now I think it's worse. And I think a lot of it, and that's something Allie and I kind of touched on the podcast recording we did earlier today, which will come out in early June. You know, when you share your emotions and all that, and you know, get told to stop, what's different now than back then is social media. Right. And again, it kind of also speaks to women sharing. Right. So there's, I won't say who it is. There's a creator out there who likes to tell other women how men think and feel in marriage. And the stuff she's saying is completely wrong. And again, I've gone on a couple of them and said, hey, you know, and I was trying to be mean. I wasn't really trolling. I'm like, hey, it's not the reality. And they would jump all over me for it, right? It speaks to what social media is right now. And again, Allie and I talked about this in the podcast, is people are hiding behind their keyboard, and they feel they can say and do anything to somebody online. So as you saw on the comment that was made on the Instagram post, which again is on TikTok and YouTube Shorts and all that, that woman felt comfortable enough to say to me, you're full of it. You're wrong. that's not an uncommon occurrence, right? User, you probably do know who I'm talking about. I will not mention names because I don't want to get in trouble here. But just to kind of go through some of the other comments, because there's a couple others that I wanted to highlight that I think are again, these are from men now that I'm talking about. This is how men feel, right? So Sean Ocean said, because women cry to get sympathy. Not all, of course, but it is a weapon in their arsenal. When men cry, this is a really good point. When men cry, it is truly genuine in most cases. I could not agree more with that statement. If a man gets to the point he's opened up and crying, the dam has already been broken. Because if he's allowing that to happen, God forbid letting anybody see that, he's in serious, serious, serious effing trouble. I'm telling you, okay? As he continues on, most men have to hold these emotions in for months, years, and even decades. Yes. And when it finally comes out, it is pure and a release of all that has happened to them. Then, and this is a key point, we feel guilty for crying. And he says it's puzzling. Boy, powerful, powerful statement. So kudos to him for that. Again, it's over on Instagram. And as I said in my reply to him, and I have not replied to all of them yet, but there was a few, it's how we've been conditioned since birth, right? It's what we've been taught from the day we're born. Boys don't cry, right? And the point I made in this is it's on us. This is not for women to fix. This is for men to fix. We need to own it. We need to take responsibility. We need to be leaders to other men and say, you know what? It's okay to cry. It's okay to be emotional. It's okay to have feelings. It's okay to express what you're going through. Because the detractors are going to jump all over you. But if we stand together as guys and support one another, that's how things are going to change. And that's, if nothing else, that's one takeaway from today. There's a few other comments on there. Again, if you're on Instagram, go check that out. Men need to be heard on Instagram. Now, let me just jump over to the TikTok on this because, again, there's some really good comments on these. Now, for those that don't know, my main account on TikTok is Men Need to Be Heard 3. All right. On YouTube, it's Men Need to Be Heard. On Instagram, it's Men Need to Be Heard. The reason it's 3 on TikTok is I had prior accounts banned because God forbid a man shares his feelings. They ban you for that. And as some of you, Tammy, I just saw you pop on. Tammy can attribute to this. We've both had accounts banned. Last week, about a week and a half ago, I suddenly had one of my banned accounts come back out of nowhere. I have no idea to this day how it suddenly showed back up. It's been under constant attack. So that one's Men Need to Be Heard too, TOO. But out of nowhere, it came back. So what I started doing is I post my longer form content on Men Need to Be Heard 3, and I put the shorter form, like the 15-second stuff on TikTok on Men Need to Be Heard 2. So I posted this video on that. But some really good stuff on here. So Gerardas Natalis, I hope I'm saying that right, over on TikTok. At my father's funeral, a woman told me she thought it was so strange that I was crying so hard. Yeah, I'm not making that up. Think about that for a second. Why would it be strange? I'm not knocking the woman, by the way. That's how society views men who cry. If it's so abnormal that you would think it's strange, what does that tell you? Pretty damning, right? And there's a few other ones on. There's one other one I'm looking. Yeah, here's another one. So again, and this is very common. Dubers 001 or 01, sorry. We're told to be open and emotionally available, but when we actually do it, we're crushed by the very women who tell us to do that. Happens all the time. And it's happened to me, and I'm sure most of you, and again, I'll get into the comments in a little bit, but I'm sure most of you guys out there have had it happen to you. Am seen as weak. Can't even cry at your family members' funerals, but they want you to cry at theirs. Here's an interesting one. Same one from Dubers01. My wife and I can walk down the street. She can feel free enough to compliment a child, but if I do, I'm treated with scorn by the parents. Another one. You know, it just goes to show you the mindset that's out there. And yet, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, Twitter. Yeah, I'm up on Twitter too. You see it all the time. Why don't men open up? Why are they afraid to open up? You know, there's like this, it's like this big mystery to mostly women. It's mostly women posting that. So for the ladies on here, I'm curious, because why do you think women believe that men should just open up? After all I've just said, I'd be curious to see what you had to say on it, because, you know, one of the things that we see in society now is we don't talk to each other, right? And that's why I want to kind of get some opinions on that. So I'm kind of looking through the comments now and the messages. RP John, the who hurt you tactic. I get that one thrown at me 3-4 times a week on my videos. If I open up and share on something, who hurt you? Obviously, it's meant to demean me, which is what they do, right? They want you to feel ashamed that you shared their thoughts and emotions. Again, I'm not singling the individual out, although they're obviously to blame. It's society. That's how society views it, right? Allie put in, now it's how women act online, and they've been programmed. Yes, and we talk about that in the podcast. William Johnson, 1950. Dude, you're probably you're older than me. Kudos to you, by the way. I don't cry. I'm not able to anymore. And I'm not far from that. I do cry still. I'll be honest with you. I can't watch Saving Private Ryan, my favorite all-time movie, and not cry at the end. Every single effing time. Every single time. I've watched that movie in full 50, 60 times. I've seen parts of it many more times than that. If I see that scene where Tom Hanks dies, I cry. Every single time. Another movie that gets me, and you can laugh at me for this one, Titanic. I cry at that one too, right? But other than that, yeah, it's hard for me to cry. I can cry at movies, like I just said, but cry at something that's happening to me, I'm very guarded with that. And if I do it, I make damn sure nobody else is around. I remember I had a dog die. Her name was Shadow. God, 10 years ago. Rest in peace, Shadow. I love you to death. You know that. Great dog. The day she died, I cried for hours, but not a single person saw it. I went and hid. I left the house because I couldn't show it, right? Some of the other comments. Tiger Tom 67. It's like showing her your weak spots so she can hurt. Yep. You show that weakness, it'll be weaponized and used against you. Yep, forever, the never-ending story. Again, talking about weaponization. Tell you to man up. I said that earlier. Absolutely. Call him weak. Reputation destruction. RP John. Yes, much like I was relaying in the situation that I had with my work. And why do you think that is? Why would someone who supposedly loves you, let's say a wife, you share with her whatever's bothering you, anything, she goes, tells all her friends. How does she not know the damage that's doing to you and your reputation? Because those friends are now going to look at you, because society does it, and goes, what a wimp, what a weak SOB, what a fill in the blank, right? She's destroying your reputation. It's a great way to put it. Some others saying it's things that happen to me happen to them. User 3305, blah, blah, blah. I don't open up to anyone as a result. Any new potential relations, I think I'm closed off. I get the same thing, by the way. That happens to me. Snowy said that's cruel. A few other things. I'm just kind of scanning through them. Yes, Michelle, I just saw we do have to do another show. And yes, I will come on your lives if you're still on. And by the way, Michelle's got a note here. I've been preaching this to women. She does. Go watch her lives. I think pretty much Michelle is live every day at this point. And I apologize, I am not on them all the time. I'm a busy man. This podcast, man, it's doing really good. If you have not seen it, I'm going to shamelessly plug it. I do a podcast called Men Need to Be Heard. I have guests on. I've had Michelle on. At some point, Tammy, I want to hook up with you if you're on. I've had guests on. I had Ryan on not too long ago, went to jail for months on a false allegation. I had Jason on, same scenario. I've had divorce attorneys on. I've got one coming up, actually two coming up. I've got a whole host of things. We're talking about men's issues. It's really an informative way or a way to get information out to guys to help them live better lives. That's the whole purpose behind that podcast. It's not female bashing or women bashing. Check it out. It's over on the Tube. It's also on Spotify. Just look for Men Need to Be Heard there. All right, shameless plug done. Wolf Pup Poet. Like that name. Say it 3 times fast. Wolf Pup Poet. Wolf Pup. Yeah, I see I blew it already. It's true. I've stopped trusting. I've shut myself down. And there you go. Sigma, I don't trust anyone. You see a theme here? Ladies, if you're watching this, if you take nothing else away from this, listen to what the men are saying. I know you won't. And if you do, you'll dismiss it and you'll use it against us. And you get my point, right? Talking about, losing the trust. There's no forgiveness. LO797. When someone betrays your trust. Andre is 6709, hi from Sweden, been single for 16 years now. Quick side note. There seems to be this ongoing thing lately where the ladies are thinking that we're all sad, bitter, lonely men if we're single. I hate to tell you, ladies, it's the exact opposite. Single guys are loving life. Just saying. Snowy, I have no idea what that is. To Andre, I'm assuming it's Swedish. Michelle's got most women say they want an emotionally available man and then find one and change their mind. Yes, my dear, they do. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that women say they want an emotionally available man and they get one and then they go after him for it or use it against him? I'm curious on that. They want equality. Yep. Equality except when feelings. Yes. Again, Michelle, you're just like a font of information today. I love when women tell men it's not true when you, yeah, I read that post earlier. Nope. What you're saying is not true. It's my emotions. It's something I went through personally. It's not true. Hear it all the time. Again, it's designed to shut us down. Andy Kelleher, I really like your videos, mate. Thank you. I appreciate that. Michelle, again. Michelle, you are on a roll. I'm going to call you Butter from now on because you are on a roll. Women telling men they know better about how men feel. I hear it every day. Just kind of scrolling through them quick here. Guys, over on YouTube, if you're watching me there, Ted put dangerous to open up. Yes, sir. You are right. Let me just kind of scroll down here. Tammy's got, her dad wore his heart on his sleeve and all his buddies wept at his funeral. That tells me a lot about you, Tammy. It's why you're as awesome as you are, because your dad probably taught you to be that way. So kudos to him and to you. Michelle, I try not to think like a woman. Well, I try and think like them, and I can't figure out how the hell you guys think, so I freely admit it. As I jokingly say, you can't understand yourselves. How the hell do you expect us to? Tabletop 88. I love this comment. Look at how a lot of women in television portray men, and then that doesn't make me want to open up. Beautiful. Exactly right. Again, it's talking about society, right? Hollywood, if you will, media, however you want to put it, is not very kind to men that open up. In fact, they get mocked a lot on that. Tammy's got here, most women don't realize they weaponize emotions until you explain how they do it. Okay. So it's subconscious is what you're saying, Tammy. Interesting. Do you think that's because they're taught that way? I'm curious. Michelle's got it. I think women refuse to learn how men communicate and want them to show emotion the same way they do. That's a great point, Michelle. So let's talk about that briefly, if I may. A point I make all the time. Men tend, and we talked, again, Allie, give credit to Allie, we talked about it on the podcast. Men tend to think logically. A to B to C to D. Women will go from A to M, even though M's not part of the conversation, back to B, over to X, and blah, blah, blah. There's nothing wrong with either one, by the way. We are just wired to think differently. Women are more emotional in their decision making. Men are more logical, if you will, right? The beauty of it is, biology is a beautiful thing. Over millions of years, we've adapted this way. Men have their strengths. Men have their weaknesses. Women have their strengths. Women have their weaknesses. For the most part, men's strengths are women's weaknesses, and women's strengths are men's weaknesses. That is not a disparaging thing about either one. It is the reality. And yes, it's a generalization. I know there's exceptions out there, but in general, that's the truth. And the beautiful thing is when we work together, everyone benefits. The sum of the two parts, the whole is greater than the sum of the two parts. Why are we trying to get away from that? I will never understand it. User 3305, I only cry in private. You guys are bombing me with messages. I love it. Keep them coming. Michelle, that's interesting. I have so many men say they'll cry in front of me, but not their wife. That is sad. Wow. New Guardian of the Galaxy will make you cry. I'll have to check it out. Is that in the theaters now? I haven't been to it. I was having a conversation with someone. The last 3 movies, I haven't seen a movie. I saw one, which was the last Star Wars movie. The movie before that was the Star Wars movie before that. And the one before that was the Queen one, Bohemian Rhapsody. Those are the last 3 movies I've seen in the theater. I don't go anymore. It's too expensive, and I can sit home and watch it. Just a quick side note. Again, I'm kind of scrolling through the comments over on YouTube. I'm checking you guys too, so if you got comments, feel free to jump in. The TikTokers are a little bit more. Angel Warrior, because women have been indoctrinated to believe men showing vulnerability is weakness. I don't disagree, but I also think men have been indoctrinated that way. I say society as a whole has been to do that. Men are just as guilty as women of telling boys and men to man up. What's different, where I will say it's different, is men don't weaponize it. There are occasions, right? But in general, they don't weaponize it. That's a big difference. And they sure as hell don't go spreading it out to other people. You tell a man something, it goes in the vault, right? Tabletop 88. If I truly got things going on, I call my veteran friends I deployed with. Amen to that, right? They're your brothers in arms. They're probably the people you can trust the most. Unfortunately, I wish more veterans were like that. I've talked with veterans who go through some serious stuff. And I'm by no means qualified to help them. I do what I can, but I've heard horror stories. And it gives me PTSD to think about it. I can't even fathom what they're going through. And there's so little help for them. So little help. It's criminal what our government does to our veterans. Criminal. Women are unable to love men. Hugo Boss. Women are unable to love men. Women only love their offspring. Bit of a generalization. I'm not sure I disagree with that. All right. Snowy, I only cry in the shower. Interesting. I'm trying to think if I've ever done that. I think I have. Michelle, you're butter again. She wins the internet. Dan, you're being silly. Don't you know it's the patriarchy? Yep. Boom. Michelle wins. Southern Junkie, hey man, divorced. Love your content. Thank you. Just kind of catching up here. You guys are bombing me. I love it. Oh yeah, the misogynistic one, Tammy's right on that one. I get called that one all the time. I'm at the point now where I wear it like a badge. I really do. It's to silence us, right? Something that women do and to be fair, some men, but women will tend to try and label you to silence you, right? So again, my content could be pretty, let's just say, get the emotions going, right? Because I'm talking to men. 90 some odd % of my followers are men, and women see that and they get really upset at what I'm saying, because the reality is they know I'm right, but they have to silence me. Tammy, I would pick you for anything, especially your internalized misogyny. Here's the thing, Tammy and Michelle and a few others have pointed out, they get it too, right? The people that go after them just like they do the men. I've heard it from all of them. It's amazing. But again, they try and silence us by applying a label to us, right? They try and if they say you're a misogynist, then everything you say after that in their mind is invalid because you hate women. It's not true, right? It's a way to silence you. Sorry, got a drink from the swag again. I'm just reading through some of the notes here. Mel Gibbs, how can I talk to you live? Reach out to me through email. That's your best bet. Men need to be heard at gmail.com. And the reason I say that is I get hundreds, if not thousands, of PMs and DMs across social media a day. I can't possibly read them all, and I apologize to people for that. I try. I do my best. I'm a busy man. So if you want to actually reach out to me, your best bet is email, because that's the best way to reach me. Just looking at some of the other things on here. Oh, Hank's on. Hank, my friend. How are you? So, Hank, let me give him a plug and a shout out. So Hank Lewis TX is his username. Go follow him. He is my guest on the podcast this week, coming up on Sunday. It'll be released Sunday, 11 a.m. East Coast U.S. time. Hank and I had a great discussion. Hank talked about his dad. His dad was falsely accused of some things and the effect it had on his dad's life, on Hank's life. Powerful podcast. Go check it out. Again, I'm shilling, but a shout out to, by the way, to Hank for sharing that and reaching out to me. Again, I'm kind of scrolling through these. Enrico, so many homeless vets. It's something that I actually want to start looking into more. Where I live in southeastern North Carolina, homelessness it's nothing like, say, LA or San Francisco, but it's getting worse. And having talked with a couple people locally, because I'm involved, I do a radio show here, which is political, and I talk to politicians all the time, and they're saying it's getting worse by the day. Kevin Bauer, I cry alone now. Amen, brother. So do I. Sigma, thank you for sharing that. I have cried when my children go back with mom. I remember for the first 2-3 years, I cried almost every single time. I would drop the kids off to her. There were times I had to pull off the road and sob because I missed my kids that much. Great point there. Very good. Thank you for sharing that. Starseed Guru, men are in love and women are in business. There's an interesting viewpoint. Ken Sconson, I had a VA appointment yesterday that took 6 months to get. Wow. I know it's bad. And I've talked to vets. I'm surprised, but not surprised. I haven't heard it out that far for stuff like that. God, I mean, it's criminal, as I said earlier, what our government is doing to vets. When you realize the men unaliving themselves rate, it's roughly, last numbers I saw were around 110 a day. Of that, a large portion of them are veterans. A large portion. It's criminal. Where are the politicians on this? And I talk to politicians, and I do bring it up to them. It's sad. Just kind of scrolling through some of the other ones. I love these that we're all having these conversations. Hank, you're the bomb. I can't wait for people to see that podcast. With all due courtesy, wear a collared shirt. Jacques, I hear you. Here's the thing. I actually had a collared shirt on, and I took it off and put this one on. I wear them all the time. So when I do the lives, point taken, though. I actually have some more shirts coming. Swag. Again, I'm going to shamelessly shill. This wasn't planned, but I got drink mugs. I got coffee mugs. I got shirts available, a few other things. If you're on TikTok, go into my link tree. There's a link in there for merch. Anything that you buy, a portion of the proceeds get donated to Domestic Violence Shelter for Men, the Taylor House. So go check it out. And hey, maybe I'll give you a shout out too. Just reading through some of the other ones. Jacques, I've been a template for homeless vets with housing communities along the Mexican border. Scary. Tammy, yes, I'm in Wilmington. Wilmington, North Carolina. I'm not afraid to say where I am. Love it. Love it here. Geez, I didn't know you were in SC. You'll have to message me privately. Let me know where you're at, because I'm in SC a lot. The silence is so loud when you take your kids back. You know, that's Southern Junkie 45. That is a great point. You're right. I would drive my kids home. They felt it as much as I did. Absolutely as much as I did. Robert Vincent, I don't cry anymore. I've become comfortably numb. You know, that song kind of hits home, doesn't it? Homeless vets in the UK is awful. Now, that's interesting to hear. I know it's a huge problem in the US. I know that there's a problem in the UK. I didn't realize how bad it was. It sounds like it's as bad as it is here in the US. Yeah, another one. Men are in love, women are in business. That is great. Just reading through some of the other ones. Hank, I tell my econ students I dress for comfort and function, not style. My style is Walmart, so just saying. You know what, Michelle? I'll get you some swag. I just love some of these. Yes, Jacques, North Carolina. I love it. I'm originally from New York. There's not enough money in the world to get me to go back to that godforsaken state. And it's sad because New York State, the countryside is fantastic. I mean, it's a beautiful place. It has everything New York does, but it is a cesspool now. It is. I was actually, again, I've done politics. I used to be a lobbyist up in Albany. That's where I lived. Lobbyist for men. I used to do lobbying for shared parenting, domestic violence, things like that. So I'm good friends with a couple of the politicians that are still there. And one of them, his name is Jim Tedesco, put a message out the other day. New York had a net loss of 400,000 people last year. Think about that. So keep in mind, there's people, kids being born and all that. Every other state's a positive. Well, California's not, but people are running out of New York and California. And it was funny because I have friends moving down this way, and one of them just told me they're moving in a month. They had to reserve their U-Haul. When I moved, which was about 5-6 years ago, the U-Haul cost me about $2,000. Now, going the other way back then, it was a few hundred. I've heard, all right, so coming down, my friend is going to pay over $4,000 for the big U-Haul, okay, because it's a hot time of year. I've heard that they'll all but pay you to drive the vans back to New York. So, I mean, it's amazing what's going on. Gio, do you ever notice women do not take any accountability? Fact. They don't like being held accountable. I deal with it all the time. That's why they report me. That's why they try and get me banned, because I'm not trying to be mean to them, but I hold them to the same standards. If you're going to say it's all men, I'm going to say it's all women. I don't believe that, by the way, but I will hold them to that standard. You know, if you're going to say whatever, I'm going to hold you to the same standard. They do not like that. Hank, going to Texas, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, and North Carolina. North Carolina is booming right now. Booming. Especially the Raleigh area. There's a place in Raleigh called Cary. So if anybody's from there, shout out to you. Cary stands for Containment Area for Retired Yankees. Because it's all the New Yorkers, especially New York City, retire and move to Cary, North Carolina. Yes, California did create their mess. It's just amazing what's going on. Tammy, I just saw your stories on mothers who unalive their children. That could be a good podcast. We're gonna have to reach out to each other soon. Hank, we tell the new arrivals not to do Texas. Yeah, we do the same thing here in Carolina. In fact, I've told my friends we're closed. Well, you moved there. We're closed. There's no more room. And truthfully, where I live in Wilmington. So for those that don't know, Wilmington, North Carolina is a resort area. We have 3 huge beaches. Millions of people come here to visit. But we have the ocean to the east and to the south of us. To the west of us is a river, the Cape Fear River. It's like a triangle. I call it a pizza slice. When I moved here years ago, there was lots of open land. It's reached the point, the last I heard from one of the politicians I talked to, there's less than 300 acres left to develop on. That's how much building is going on. There's a place across the river called Leland. When we first started looking for houses down here, it was I jokingly called it a podunk one-street town. It is now, the population has more than doubled, I believe, in the last 5 years, and they're predicting it to double again in the next 5. That's how much people are moving here. Just kind of cool. Thank you, Jacques, for liking the show and the message. A few others here. I met my ex when she was 16. She's in her 40s now, has never apologized for anything. Common. In fact, that was going to be my original theme. So next week, what I'm going to be talking about is something that I have put out on my various social medias, and I'm calculating the data. But basically what I said, and if you want to comment, go find those videos and comment them there. What I said to guys was, when was the last time your significant other told you they appreciated you? I'm not going to give away the data. I'm tracking it. I'll bet most of you already know the answer, which is never. But there were also some positives to it. So maybe that's what next week's topic was going to be. Excuse me, it was going to be this week's, but I really wanted to kind of go on this. Angel Warrior, what's your opinion on Andrew Tate? I get this one all the time. I did a video on it on my Men Need to Be Heard 2 that got me banned. It was part of the reason I got banned. So I'll probably get banned now for answering this, but I'm gonna. Here's my honest feelings about Andrew Tate. I don't know squat about him. I don't follow him. I never did. I've seen little bits and pieces. I agree with some of what he says. I disagree with some of what he says. I honestly, I'm gonna give you my 2 cents. He's a celebrity. He acts like a celebrity. My gut feeling is he doesn't believe everything he says. He's trying to get likes, make money. As opposed to people like myself, Michelle, Tammy, Maddie, who hasn't popped on yet, or at least I haven't seen him. And we do it because we